Hey everyone, it's Dana Bell here, and I'm at home this time instead of in my classroom. It's all Christmassy here, so I thought this would be a cute place to be. My assignment for the week was the New York accent featured in Guys and Dolls, the musical, and I will be working with high school students. I teach middle school in real life, but in this, I'm doing high school, which is exciting and awesome. I'm going to talk about the accent first and then what my process is going to be for the show specifically. As far as signature sounds go, the most important ones I picked up on were the T being a dental T or a glottal T. And my examples for that, if it's T in the middle or at the end of a word, it's kind of turning into a D. So that would be like writer instead of writer. It's not a T, it's a D, almost like rider, like a horseback rider. Not at all. Nod, add, all. Two D's there. Heartache. It's like you're saying hard ache. And then the glottalized one happens when it follows an N, like fountain. Instead of saying fountain, it's that little glottal stop in there. Fountain, fountain, or paintin'. This sound is the short A sound, that ah sound, and that's going to be pronounced more like a ah. Ah, it's a diphthong. Staff, Sam, Kansas, cashmere. And for the O sound, like in thought or cloth, that's turning into a diphthong as well. So it's more like oh, often, twust, cough, that kind of sound. Those are the signature sounds for that one. The oral posture, teeth should be out, shoved up against them. This is kind of another lazy tongue one, kind of like Cockney. The ends of words are left off. I compared it, my analogy for this one is like your mouth is full of thick mashed potatoes and everything's in there and it's sort of weighing everything down. It's harder to talk. There's not as much crisp and clear stuff because, yeah, that's going on in there. My key sentence is a lot of huge hands were holding the batter so he wouldn't fall. A lot of huge hands. That's wrong. A lot of huge hands were holding the batter so he wouldn't fall. I've been making fun of my dad for years for saying huge or other words like that and leaving off the H. But now I know why, because he's from New York originally. So now can't make fun of him since I know where that comes from. The accent challenges. The most important ones are not flipping into other accents like Jersey, since Jersey is so close and a lot of people commute back and forth. When we hear things on TV, people are from there, but they're also commuting back and forth, and so their accents can kind of get a little muddled in there. And then the other one is specifically for the character of Adelaide, who is very nasally, is very funny, and she has to have that even more extreme New York accent. That the challenge is that she doesn't get lost, that her pitch doesn't get too high, that you can't understand her, or that her words themselves don't get too mushy, that we can still understand her as an audience. That's really important. Let's see. As far as research goes for the show, I will talk about the synopsis itself, and then I'll talk about what it has to do with accents. So the synopsis is this guy, Nathan Detroit. He's engaged to this hotbox burlesque dancer, Adelaide. He's been engaged for 14 years. She's not happy about it, but he is a perpetual gambler, and he runs the biggest floating crap game in New York City. It floats from location to location because it is illegal. So he needs a security deposit of $1,000 cash, and he makes a bet with this guy named Sky Masterson to get that money. And he bets Sky that Sky isn't able to use his charm on any lady. It's that Nathan can pick a girl that Sky won't be able to take out on a date. And Nathan says, you got to take her to Cuba. You have to take her to Havana, Cuba. And you have to take that girl. And she's the most straight laced, uptight mission girl, church type girl. And he does end up taking her there, and she gets drunk there. And when they come back from Havana, they all the gamblers, Nathan and all the rest of the gamblers, are running out of the church, out of the mission. And Sarah's super upset. She feels used and betrayed when she was falling for Sky, and Sky's actually fallen for her. And that wasn't what he thought was going to happen. So Adelaide and Nathan, they've got their little love story going on. Sky and Sarah have their little love story going on. And then there's just the New Yorkers that are living their lives and making us laugh throughout the whole thing. It's New York in 1950. I guess that it's 1950 because of the some of the song lyrics that go on in the show. Adelaide and Take Back Your Mink talks about that was late 48, I recall. So that had to have been in the past, but it doesn't seem too much later than that. So the other thing is that $1,000 back then in 1950 would be equivalent to $10,500 today. So that's kind of how I established the socioeconomic status of the characters to help me with the specific accents that need to be used. Speaking of which, I am going to have the mission people be more Gen Am than New York to contrast between the two groups of people, so that when the sinners, the Hotbox Girls and the gamblers come in to the mission, there's a very stark contrast between the two. And I think that the New York accent kind of goes with the working class people, and then the normal Gen Am, more crisp talk can go with the more uptight and crispy people in the mission. So there are a few other random characters that don't fit that mold. Adelaide is even more on the top, over the top with the New York accent. Lieutenant Brannigan, who is the cop who keeps trying to nail Nathan Detroit. Brannigan is obviously an Irish name, and I think that his accent needs to be Irish in order to contrast with the gamblers as well. And also, I don't have Sky Masterson as having a thick New York accent because his whole goal in life is to not get tied down to a woman or a place. And I feel like he shouldn't be tied down to an accent either. So I have him being Gen Am as well. For the rehearsal process, the way that I'm going to have it is do the workshop first, right after things are cast. That way, people aren't practicing their accents incorrectly, and I can nip those problem areas in the bud before they practice, because practice makes perfect is not true. Perfect practice makes perfect, and so we need to make sure that those things are established from the get-go. So that's going to be more the warm-up and really working on embodiment and all those kinds of things. But then once we really have the signature sounds nailed down and how it feels in their bodies as they move and in their mouths, then to actually apply their learning in the specific accent to their lines and their song lyrics. So to actually have their scripts at the workshop and go in and mark them up in pencil about exactly which signature sounds are used when. I think that's super important. And then after that, I have a couple hour-long blocks with the kids. And for that, I'm going to be more focusing on specific people, like 20-minute one-on-one coaching sessions with characters, especially Adelaide, Lieutenant Brannigan, and those, especially the three guys who sing in the beginning of the show. That's Benny the Horse and Nicely Nicely Johnson and some other guy that I can't think of right now. They sing Fugue for Tin Horns, and that's the opening number. It establishes the setting. It establishes that they're gamblers. I got the horse right here. His name is Paul Revere. That part, I mean, that's the opening number. It establishes everything. That's got to be, we got to hit that one really strong. So working maybe one-on-one with them, or just the trio of them, since they have the most dialogue as the New York guys. Got to hit that one really hard. So, and then just watching rehearsals and analyzing and picking out and taking notes on the little things, little corrections, and hopefully redirecting those before the show goes up. So that's going to be what I'm going to do for my rehearsal process for Guys and Dolls in the high school. And that's all I got. Thank you.